There it is. Shed some light on the situation if that helps. There it is. All this was rotted out. This was actually a lap here. We'll create a butt weld, cleaning it up. I'm gonna get the weld through primer on here. Get us ready to go. This is the new piece right here. We actually manufacture that out of leftovers. This is inner rocker portion. We made it out of leftovers from the outer rocker. Scraps there. So it's got an electromagnetic electro weld. Basically, they say up at the factory you can weld right to this without a lot of cleanup. So, and I've done it before, it works. Over the last few, I've went ahead and cleaned up all those panels and such, and I've learned that's a weld through primer that's on those and a weld through epoxy that's on those. So we're gonna some weld through here because this is gonna be a lap weld, and I'm gonna pull that outside structure to it, stitch it up real quick, just enough. It's got drain holes and everything else. It's not like it's all pristine and shit. So get that done, move on. Alright, so we're going to cut these rockers where we need them. We need them along that line. Alright. What I'm going to do is I'm going to stretch some 3/4 inch tape across there to define my line. And then we'll cut on it. When you're cutting along, you know, you got black on black on black, you start blurring the line, you get crooked. Freehanding this shit out. We're using this standard little body saw. One of those little trinkets I paid way too much for, but are fucking sweet. So I'll show you the tape up and go from there. Okay, granting it's not a perfect straight line, but it's a lot better than just freehanding with no guidance. It's either that or you mark on it with a paint marker. My paint marker died a week ago. I have to go buy a new one. I don't know why I only bought one. Oh, I remember now. I didn't know if it was worth a shit. It is. The red marks on everything, paint markers are awesome. So that's where we're at. I'm going to cut along there with the body saw. Show you in a minute. We are back at you. Ford F-150 rocker rot, some custom touches. This is the middle of segment 3. Let's take a look. We'll get some light action going on for y'all. We're starting the spot welding in. We actually chose this plane here before it goes up around. Now this measurement we've got static all the way down. I keep a box of these. I'll go to probably a shorter fastener when I run out of these. These I had on hand when I started restoring cars. Anyhow, little duckbill tip drivers. The rocker fits up pretty well in there. There's just some work that's got to be done. You can see beyond where I got to fabricate that part. We got it to fit in there. We got this static. You can see I welded up the plug here. Welded up the plug there. And there's another one along here somewhere I welded up. Couldn't tell you where now. It's kind of a mess. I let my welder get away from me there. Kind of a booger. But most of it's pretty decent. We jump around a lot. So as to keep warping to a minimum. My choice here, as opposed to up here, that's where all the rot was. We got into clean solid metal down here, and all I gotta do is make straight a section that fucking big, okay? And then that shoulder line, which all I gotta do is grind down to the original shoulder line there. Let's look up underneath, show you kind of what's going on. I've closed the doors, made sure everything lines up. Okay, we're looking good. It's got that little reveal. They all do. You know, we'll have to clamp this before we weld it. This section up here is that piece I showed you that we made out of leftovers. Yeah, there's a weep hole there. There was a weep holes in this anyhow. So the fact it's got weep holes again isn't that big of a deal. All we're gonna do is we're gonna dress these with seam seal, and we're gonna undercoat this section and area. We'll clean this
rust up here with a wire wheel before we get to it, and we're gonna bed line inside of this here. Probably just brush it on, might shoot it on. I really don't care. I haven't decided what I'm gonna do, but I at least have to clean up to about here, no matter what, because we're replacing sections of the inner rocker. This section of the inner rocker on each side I got to do. Lordy, where was it? I think we got some holes. Yeah, we got some holes for the fenders. We'll actually have to drill and put body clips on here for the fenders to bolt to. We don't care. We'll line them up. We'll move the fender out of the way, drill the holes, put the body clip in, and run like hell. And the last one we did, we took way too much time and care, and we didn't need it. Jeremy's over on the other side, lining up. Oh lordy, lining up that piece and getting it trimmed. We had to trim where it comes out here. We had to trim that top because it goes all the way up in here somewhere. We don't need all that. He's probably going to come over and get the body saw in a minute instead of trying to Popeye arms that. That's 18 gauge, and it gets pretty tough to use snips, aviation snips on 18 gauge. I've done it on 16. It sucks, okay? So that's where we're at. Really, till we get to the point I got to fabricate the front and rear corners because we don't have them in our rockers. There's not a lot to show. I'll show you this finished up, ground down, ready for body work. Our Monday sucked, okay? But I think we found the new headquarters for Smith Welding and Restoration. My great-granddaddy's probably rolling in his grave because it's going to be in Johnston, Iowa. I really like the landowner there. They'll work with us. They'll help us out. We'll help them out. It should be a good fit. Less space than I wanted, but the money was certainly right and the timing couldn't be better. And we've got the propensity for expansion when needed. Alright kids, my next step, I'm going to look at actual full-blown paint booth. Should be an interesting experience. Alright, so we're working on this piece. I established bigger than what I needed was 2.5 by 7. Right now, all I'm looking to do is get this to fit the curve, okay? Once I get that crafted mostly to the curve, then I can look at probably shrinking some of these edges down, and then maybe some planishing work. So I'll show it to you step at a time. I've got it laid out. See right there's that, where that lip starts, there, and then a 1/4 inch up. It's got another bend, Z-bend. That's sort of where that started. Now what I'm starting with is, oh god, what is this? I think it's a 2 inch and a 3/4 or 7/8 poly mallet, a wooden block. Thus far I've just bent this by hand over the edge of a table to get the radius started. So I took this and I rolled it up. I figured out where my radius was sitting and I rolled it up. I actually tapped on the wood as I rolled it up into that radius with the small side of this mallet. When I'm tapping on that steel, I'm actually pulling it across. You know, it's this wide, and it's, you know, longer, but it's this wide. I'm tapping it across right there where I want that radius to be, so I don't leave a bunch of walnuts there to have to smooth out later. So let's get you some light going on here. Pretty okay. No real gap. Now we start working around our edges.
We know where it starts going in, here and here. A lot of this is actually going to get trimmed off because, as you can see, it narrows up. Where are we at? There we are. Sorry, folks. Hole. Just got to go around that corner just a little bit, because right there's our good metal starting. But it narrows and it comes out wider. I measured to the widest point and added 1/2 inch. So we got the radius pulled. Now I can continue with this mallet and get a lot of this. And get it, I can get as close, sitting here next to the wood block and the mallet, and then take it to the machine and smooth it out, which is probably where I'm headed now. Back and forth between here and the machine gets old. There it is. There we go, sorry. We're loose up here, you see that? So what we're going to start doing is we're going to bring it around. I'll probably hit this with a torch once it's all said and done, and finish molding it right there on the truck. That's the majority of what we need. So all I really did here was I ran across these edges, take some of the walnuts out and help shrink that radius a little in the plenisher. Shrinking and plenisher are kind of contradictory terms, but what it is, I rolled that edge and that radius to basically fold that metal in on itself and bunch it back down. That I just used a pair of hand seamers, a little bit of magic. What we're going to do is we're going to stitch it across that seam there, where it butts into that new rocker we just welded on, and get it seated that way. And then we'll go along that edge there up against the old material, and we're just going to work our way up into this area, and we'll tap it in place as we go with ball peen or one of my metal hammers, or even a body hammer if the occasion arises. That is how we're going to finish out this deal. I'll show you some more as we proceed. Alright, I got a nasty booger weld there. Alright, my fault. I need to turn the heat back. We got this bent around. We're bending this around right now. And then it'll be wrapping around that edge. So yeah, that's where we're at, folks. Very little mud work will need done after we get all this ground down.